Let's talk about daylight feature line. This one is interesting. I think it'll work in the long run. I think it's a good thing to make it more efficient. It's going to help us keep from having drawing bloat. I think it's going to help us keep from extra steps, for example. Okay. Feature lines have always been a part of grading since the beginning of Civil 3D. They're the basis of grading in itself, right? We can't begin grading without a feature line. Most of the improvements that we have seen to this point has been stability and things of that nature. With this enhancement, feature lines no longer have to belong to a site. They can now be siteless. Okay. We'll see that here in just a minute. Grading has always been, I would say, heavy in the process of steps in order to get your grading created. And one of those steps was you were unable to grade to an existing ground from a feature line. What the new tool does is it automates the creation, of daylight feature lines. It removes them and allows us to actually just grade to the surface from the feature line. Any created feature lines from that point are going to be full editing capabilities. They're going to have the same tool usage for adjusting your feature lines geometry and or your elevations. Okay. The new tool is obviously going to have advantages and disadvantages, right? You might be used to doing the process of creating it from your grading objects, from grading criteria to creating a grading group to, using and creating your styles and things of that nature. We're going to be able to take out a few of those steps. Okay. Couple of benefits here. Quick grading, right? We can see how pond grading is going to look. We can see how simple pads are going to daylight out. Berms, ditches, anything else that we want to daylight. We can get a very quick look at what's going to occur when we grade these things out without having to go through the other steps of creating a grading object. Okay. So the first thing we need is a surface. Hey, look, there's one. The second thing we need is a parent feature line. Okay. So in this case, I do have a feature line here and a feature line here. They're going to be different, but as you can see, in order to get to what I have here, I needed to create a grading object. We all know that there has to be a grading group created before we can even start, right? We need to, at least up till this point, we needed to tell the software that what site we wanted, right? And we needed to go ahead and then go through the process. We needed to set up the layer. We needed to set up the surface. We needed to set up the criteria sets. Then we were able to go ahead and select the criteria, and then we could actually grade. So those were all the steps here to get to this point. Now, I do have a feature line. right? Now, let's just explode that thing, and we'll create a feature line from objects. We'll set it, and we'll notice now here under site, none. Okay, so if it's going to be something conceptual, something very quick, okay, easy enough. No need to put it in a site. So we'll go ahead and accept everything else. We'll say, okay, still part of the process for a feature line. Okay. I do want my elevations from the surface. We'll say, okay. So we'll just take a look real quick. Got different elevations at different vertices. That's fine. That'll work out just fine. All right. Now, with my feature line, I open up the pull down at the very bottom, create daylight feature line. Now, again, we get what's considered a tech preview. Okay. Working on it, getting there. Take it with a grain of salt. We can still name our feature line. So, for example, just call this one pad. We can give it a style. Okay, it's just like every other feature line. All right. Again, the style must already belong in the drawing. That's something that has not changed. We can set the layer. Okay. The parent feature line will be, and I'll select it from the drawing right there. Now it jumps immediately. Hey, what's the grading side? It jumps immediately into grading. What's the side? Well, we're going to go outside. Entire length, yes. Okay. Now, if you made a mistake, you can change the side here. You can always change it from outside to inside. Okay. You do not have to do the entire length if you don't want. What's the criteria set? Well, I only have one, but what I did here is I created a grade to surface at 5:1. Okay. So we're going to utilize that. Once I have everything square, right, it looks like we're creating our feature line. We can go ahead and create. Select the surface to tie to. So we'll select our existing there. Okay. And then there's our surface, or excuse me, there's our feature line. This is a feature line. So not only do we have a feature line here for the outside, it's not a grading object, right? Or a boundary. Okay. We just did that from here. No grading criteria. Everything was set. Okay. Now what we can do is we can select our pad. We can select our daylight line. We can add to surface as a break line. Now I want to create a new surface from here. We'll click the plus symbol, and we're in some very common territory now. Pad. Let's give it 1 and 5 and see what we come up with. We'll say okay. We'll say okay. Give it a description. Break line standard is correct. There's elevations at each vertice. I'm not going to weed it for the time being, although I might make this a little bit smaller. And we'll say okay. And didn't add some information. Okay, that's not a problem. There's my new surface. I'll add that to the model viewer. And there we go. Now it works, reacts, is listed just like it does any other surface that we create. It's going to be in our prospector, right? There's our pad, and we're going to be good to go. So we can take a look, for example, if this was our pond, and we just did this in just a few minutes. Quick idea, quick location, etc. Okay.